That's where this comes in. Right, so you would have seen those awesome final versus behind the scenes shots on Instagram or TikTok and thought, man, that is so sick. Now, if you're doing this for just like 1 or 2 reels or something, it's pretty easy because you just kind of like search through and find the right clip that matches up with the final clip. But if you're shooting, say, like an entire week of content and you're wanting an easy way to sync up the BTS content with the final shots from the main camera, that's where this comes in. Oh my God. Jesus, lucky these are durable. That is not good at all. How's it going, guys? Andrew Murphy here, and I am a cinematographer from down under in Gold Coast, Australia. And this is the DEITY TC-1 Timecode device, which I just threw around before. So basically, if you are new to timecode, like I was not too long ago, then you do have some catching up to do. So really quick, timecode is basically a system that measures time by dividing it into frames and is basically used to keep cameras or devices in sync when you're shooting a multi-camera or multi-device production. Why would you have to do that right there? Now, syncing up multiple cameras or multiple devices can be done via waveform when there's sound recorded on each device. But sometimes, I guess there can be like different sounds recorded than what is being recorded on other devices. And this can make it difficult for softwares to try to line up the two if the waveform doesn't actually match up. Plus, if you're shooting for a long period of time and they say like hundreds of clips to sync up, then you have to get like dedicated software, like something like Pluralize, which will actually, I guess, take all of the clips, all of your sound, and basically go through and analyze them and sync up all the waveform and whatnot. And this is fine if you're doing this at, say, the start of your post-production. You're basically getting everything and pre-syncing it up, and then you basically bring it into a timeline and then everything's ready to go. But say if you get to the end of the production, you've finished the final video, you've finished the final whatever movie or whatever it is, and then you're going, hey, I'd love to see a before and after or a BTS versus final for this particular clip, then basically how do you know which BTS clip it is? You basically have to go through and try to figure out roughly the time that you potentially shot it. I don't actually know how you'd do it. It'd take a ton of time to try to find the BTS clip that matched that final clip that would shot with the main camera. So basically this is where timecode comes in, and this basically solves all the issues that you'd have with syncing with waveform in a very simple way. Now, a quick overview of the DEITY TC-1. So it has a locking 3.5mm timecode port, Bluetooth 5.0 with a max range of 250 feet or 75 meters, 2.4G, supports all SMTP timecode formats, only drifts 1 frame every 72 hours, which is just absolutely insane, has USB-C charging, LED status lights, and hook and loop cold shoe mounts included as well, which is super cool. It has a mini display on each device, so you can see all the main details and change settings directly on the device itself. It only takes 2 hours to fully charge, and it can last up to 28 hours. Crazy. Plus it has an auto locking feature, so you won't accidentally basically change settings mid-shoot. So basically how the little TC-1 actually works is it basically sends a timecode signal via any of these 3.5mm cables. So you get a bunch in here, and it basically sends it to the camera and tells it either to set a certain timecode, or it will send an audio timecode if your camera doesn't support a direct input of timecode itself. Now on my Canon C70, there's actually a dedicated timecode port down here, which is basically an SDI or a BNC connector. So if I dig in here and I find the right cable, so we have here, which is a BNC to 3.5mm or TRS locking cable. Basically I can connect, Jesus, it's been so rough today. Basically I can connect up the BNC cable into here, and then I can connect the other end to the timecode device. And we have this little locking screw here, which basically means that you just won't get disconnected, which is super duper handy. And then we can just mount this on a cold shoe mount, or I've actually set up some Velcro here, so we can just rip it off and we can actually just stick it directly to the camera itself as well, which is super cool. Right, now if your camera has a dedicated timecode port like on the C70, basically on the TC-1 to set this up, we can triple tap the power or the back button to unlock the device. And then if we go all the way over to the right side where on mine it says A out, and we click on here and we set this to L out, which means line out. And this is basically what we're gonna use if we're using this TRS to SDI or BNC connector, and it's gonna set it all up, set the levels right, so it works and the camera can actually understand it properly. Oh, and another huge thing to keep in mind is that make sure your frame rate on the timecode device syncs up with the frame rate on your camera. Now, there's a super easy way to do this on the actual app. I'll show this a little bit later, but if you want to get into it, obviously just triple tap it, go across to the frame rate, mine says 25, and just make sure that it is on 25 frames a second, because that's what I'm gonna be shooting on my Canon C70. Now on the Canon C70 specifically, if I dive into the menus and set up my timecode settings that look like this, and then basically what will happen is the timecode will just get synced with the timecode on the actual device itself. If I change anything on the DEITY TC-1, it'll basically automatically update on the camera, which is super duper cool. Now some cameras like the Arri Alexa Mini LF use a 5-pin timecode cable. Thankfully it comes in the kit as well, and that is one of the best things about this kit. It comes with all the cables that you need. You don't have to go buy anything else to get it working with basically any single camera. But now if a camera doesn't support timecode, if it doesn't have a timecode in, basically what we can do is we can take, this is an additional one, we can take the locking TRS to TRS cable, and basically what we can do is we can tell the DEITY TC-1 to send timecode via an audio, I guess, signal into the mic itself. So say we'll put it into my Canon R6, we'll basically connect this up to the DEITY TC-1, we can connect it in here, and then we put the other end into the mic port, and then on the actual DEITY TC-1 itself, to set it up properly to work with this kind of camera, we triple tap this to unlock it and go all the way over to the right, and we set this to A out instead of L out, which basically means audio out. What it will do now is it will send timecode on the left channel, I believe, and basically pump it into the video file, whatever you've got. And then on the right channel, it would actually use the built-in mic on here, and it will basically give you scratch audio on the right channel. So it's not gonna be the best quality audio, but it's gonna be something to have, I guess, like, yeah, scratch audio that you can then sync up to kind of like this, or just take out, or just have it as a reference to potentially, if like say the timecode doesn't work or something, you've got something there as a backup just in case. Now don't freak out when you actually play back the clip and you hear this. This is just a timecode signal that you can basically turn into timecode data for the clip itself. So basically what you do is you'll mute whatever channel it's on. I think it's on the left channel, and then you'll basically tell your software, if your software allows it, I know that Davinci Resolve does, basically tell it to take that audio track and turn that into timecode data for the clip itself. Now actually syncing all these devices together is a must, otherwise it kind of defeats the purpose of using timecode in the first place, and this can be done in two separate ways. So the first is on the device itself. So these can actually talk directly to each other once they're actually set up. And basically what you do is we take one of these and we set it to a master, just like this. And then we set the other two to just say auto jam. And then basically what we need to do is just double check that they are all on the same group. So all mine are on group A. And then once we're ready to go, we just need to scroll over to where it says TC, click on this and then go to sync. And basically what it'll do is it'll just take a second and it will send whatever the timecode is from the master to the other ones, and then it will sync it up. And when it's all synced up and ready to go and you're ready to actually rock, this little sync light on here will flash green, and that basically means that it is all synced up and it's ready to go. Now, if you do happen to see a red light at any time, basically it means that something has come out of sync. So basically we just need to stop, go into basically the master and resync them all together, or go into the app and sync them all together, which is probably the easiest way. Now, the other much simpler way is by using the Sidus audio app, and this is my preferred method because you get just way more info and you can change the settings way quicker than on the little device itself. And you can also easily or quickly change the time code to say like world clock, or manually add in a time if you want to specifically start it at a certain time. You can do it on the device itself, but it just takes a little bit longer because you're limited with obviously the buttons that you have. So once we actually load up the app and we add all of our timecode devices, we'll see them all up on the main screen. And then we just need to hit sync all, choose whether we want a specific time or set it to say world clock, and then we click sync. And that is it. We just need to wait a few seconds. They will all sync up and everything is set up and everything is ready to go. We just need to basically plug them into our devices that we want to sync timecode to, and then we are ready to rock. Then once we've actually finished all our shooting and we take our files into our editing software, I'm pretty sure Premiere Pro doesn't have any sort of timecode syncing system in it. I'm not sure about Final Cut Pro. I know the Davinci Resolve does, so I'll basically be using that, and that's the software that I use to edit anyway. So basically, if we have a device that has timecode on it, we don't have to do anything. It is all synced up to the audio clips and the metadata, and it's all ready to go. Now, if we jam timecode into the audio track, basically what we need to do is find these clips, highlight them, right click and choose update timecode from audio track, and basically it will automatically just take that track and it will just turn it into timecode. And then if we look at the data, we can see that everything is all synced up here and ready to go as well. Then once we have all our timecode ready in our clips, all we need to do is basically make a new timeline and then grab all our clips, and we just insert the selected clips into timeline using timecode, and everything's synced up, ready to go. So cool. Now, like I mentioned, if you're going to do this at the end of your project to find the right behind the scenes clip, then all we need to do is basically find the original clip and check that timecode number, and then basically just remember that number and go into the BTS clips and just scroll down and find that number, or whatever the closest one that matches that is, and then again, grab that clip, import it into your timeline using timecode, grab say like 2 or 3 clips around it, import those in, and then you'll easily be able to find which one is the actual clip that syncs up to it, and it will all be in sync as well, which is super duper cool. Now the DEITY TC-1 comes in a single kit or a 3 kit, that's the one that I have here, and say in the 3 kit, what you get is 3 of these TC-1 timecode devices. You get a locking TRS to TRS cable, a locking TRS to BNC, a locking TRS to 5-pin timecode, a 3-way USB charging cable as well, which is actually so good. Like taking out one USB port to charge yourself, so good. And then you also get a USB-C adapter for firmware updating, and 6 of these little hook and loop patches to put on your camera to basically use that if you don't want to use the little cold shoe mount, which is again, super handy. Now, a huge reason, like I said before, why I think this kit is an absolutely killer deal is because it comes with all the cables you need to get started with basically any camera. And like this cable here, a TRS to 5-pin, this can be like over $100 US just for this cable alone. And that's like kind of like the cost of one of these devices if you were to buy this separately. So to have everything in here ready to go, you get your 3 timecode devices, you get all your cables, and you can basically plug it into any camera, is super duper cool and makes it super competitive against other devices on the market. Now, the only cable that you don't get in the kit is any of the proprietary ones. So I'm pretty sure like Red has a specific proprietary timecode cable that you have to get from Red. So obviously it doesn't come with that, but any of the general ones that most of the cameras have, it does come with, which is super cool. Now, as for price, the single kit will cost you $169 US, or the triple kit will cost you $549. But again, remember you get all those cables in there, and I think that is an absolute steal, and that is worth every penny. Anyway guys, if you did enjoy this one, then consider liking and subscribing to the channel. If you're wondering where I actually am right now, this is my new studio that I'm setting up. That is why there's just kind of like stuff everywhere, but it will be set up very soon. I'll do a full video about how I've set this up and the kind of like things that I'm using. So you can check that out very soon. I'll link that up here once it's actually ready to go. So stay tuned for that. But otherwise guys, stay creative and just be you. Have fun.